YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And over the weekend, there was a content creator NFL mock draft where myself and other NFL content creators played GM for an NFL team. We drafted through 3 rounds. We made trades with each other, including current NFL players were being traded as well. So it was a lot of fun. Something different where I make plenty of mock drafts where I draft for every team. This is different where somebody controls each and every NFL team there. So a lot of fun. We use Walk the Mock. You see underneath me, we have a code for 50% off. There's a link pinned in the comments for it. It's the best draft simulator out there. It's just a lot of fun. You can make trades. You can join live servers where there's just constantly mock drafts going on, or live drafts. And then you can create your own private lobbies with your friends if you want as well. We'll hold some with our followers. You do have to be signed up there. Just a lot of fun there. So check it out. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on the channel because we have full NFL coverage getting ready for the Combine. We'll have a video each day of the Combine. We'll have a post-Combine mock. Follow us on Twitter for live news, rumors, updates. We have a Discord and a lot more. Again, links pinned in the comments. So I'll put a link down low for this as well. This is everybody that was involved and who they were drafting for. Their names, their Twitters there. So I'll put a link down below if you're curious about that. But this is Walk the Mock. I'll put a link for this as well if you want to see what happened in this mock draft. I played GM for the Houston Texans. People ask me, why weren't you the Vikings? Because you're a Vikings fan. I thought the Texans would be pretty fun. I don't know. Just I try to switch it up every year when we do this, or which team I prefer. If I were to be a GM for that team, what would be the most exciting. So we'll kind of break down the entire 3-round mock, and then I'll kind of go over what I did. But the first pick ended up being CJ Stroud. So this is where it gets interesting. But, playing GM for one team, and I was the Texans, and I'm more of a CJ Stroud guy, projecting future in the NFL. But I do like Bryce Young, his talent. There are the durability concerns, but I do like CJ Stroud a lot. So I'm not a big fan of trading up one spot either. Not a huge fan of that if I was a GM. So I was going to stay put at 2, and the Bears, the clock was really rolling down to the last second, and the Colts traded up, and I was, kind of hoping they would take Bryce Young, but they take CJ Stroud, and so then I have a decision to make. Do I take the quarterback that I have second on my board, who I still think pretty highly of, or do I go with a defensive route? But then, who's my quarterback as well? But and then kind of thinking of the future too. With the Texans, I think they can turn this around pretty quick. With D'Amico Ryans in there, a lot of draft picks, a lot of cap space and free agency. So are we going to be in position to get one of those top quarterbacks next year? Tough to predict the future. So we went Bryce Young. To me, still worthy of the pick. Still a guy that, they're going to, run a 49ers-like offense over there. I think he can run that and play very, very well in that system. So I still like the idea of Bryce Young. So that's what I went with. And we can kind of go back and break down, because I actually made some player trades. I traded Brandon Cooks away, and I traded for another receiver. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Will Anderson went 3rd. The Bears moved back and got Jalen Carter. You saw Anthony Richardson. So this person is high on Richardson for the Seahawks here. Witherspoon to the Lions. Gonzalez to the Raiders. So a lot of mocks with the Raiders taking an offensive lineman, which I could see, but they need a corner pretty badly as well. So Tyree Wilson ended up dropping a little bit further than where we've seen a mock to the Falcons. And then Joey Porter Jr. goes a little high, but you do like the upside. I skipped over Will Levis. Will Levis to the Panthers. We've seen that, obviously. Porter a little higher than maybe we've seen him mocked. Paris Johnson Jr. seems to be mocked a lot to the Tennessee Titans. At least I have. I took Lucas Van Ness for the Texans with the 12th pick. Like his upside, like his versatility. He has played inside as well, but I do like him on the edge. Mainly they're just so explosive. Love the upside. Peter Skoronski goes to the Jets. Broderick Jones to the Patriots. All these picks make sense. Quentin Johnston a little early. Will the Packers take a 15th overall pick on a receiver? But as a talented receiver there, obviously. Miles Murphy ended up slipping through. So you don't see a pass rusher mock to the Commanders a bit, but I'm assuming that what this person's thinking, how I'm thinking, maybe just too good to pass on there. And then Chase Young, health, future, where is he at? Montez Sweat, same thing, with the future, with a contract kind of coming towards an end there. Steelers go with Jordan Addison, pair him with, since he was a former Pittsburgh receiver, pairing him with Kenny Pickett. Very interesting. Remember, they traded away Claypool, so they could use another guy there. Lions go with the guard, Osiris Torrance. That's kind of a sneaky a sleeper thing the Lions could do, and they could potentially grab a guard, which nobody's really talking about. It's definitely a possibility. Branch to the Bucks. The Bucks have some free agents in there in the secondary. I do like Branch, the value of Branch there. Seahawks grab Michael Mayer, Anton Harrison for So at this point, I was actually thinking about. There's like a chat going on with all these guys. I was kind of discussing the idea of trading up to get a third pick in the first round as the Houston Texans, around this range. Chargers, Ravens, Vikings, making some offers. I was throwing a guy like Brandon Cooks out there, like I can involve him with a pick because I wanted to move up and get a receiver, a specific receiver here. And I knew there was probably some that were going to come off the board. The Chargers possibly, with the Ravens, the Vikings, and then... so at this point, I couldn't really make, anything happen. The Chargers surprisingly took Anton Harrison. The Ravens, I was worried they were going to take the guy I was after, but they took Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I was talking with the Vikings, or was I talking with them? I kind of threw it out there, an offer in the chat. I don't know if I ever got a response there. But they ended up taking Zay Flowers, who I like those receivers, but my guy was still there. So I was... at this point, kind of throwing out the offer for everyone too, because, there was some trades in here too. But trying to get ahead of the Giants and the Cowboys, but it just never happened here, and I saw the Giants traded out, so I was feeling a little more comfortable at that point of getting the receiver, because with the Texans we have a top pick, in the second round, and you can see on the left there who I ended up taking, but Nolan Smith went there, Dalton Kincaid, Brian Bruzzi. Nobody was controlling the Saints, actually. Keely Ringo ended up dropping, and the Cardinals came up and got him, so I thought that made some sense, and Keon White. So the receiver I was after was Jalen Hyatt. Just understanding that Brandon Cooks, I'm trying to deal Brandon Cooks, and he'll probably be dealt in reality as well. So getting that speedy receiver, that I like a lot, that I think is a first-round player, was appealing to me. So he ended up sliding, which is realistic, to the second pick in the second round, and I did not hesitate to draft him there. So that was my third pick. I had Bryce on the left. I had Bryce Young, Lucas Van Ness, and Jalen Hyatt. I was loving this draft, and I still had 2 third-round picks. The Texans have 2 third-round picks, and I was looking to deal still. I was looking to trade Brandon Cooks, and possibly add somebody else here. So you kind of see some of the other players drafted here in the second round. DeJuan Jones ended up slipping through as a good pick for the Bengals. So yeah, some picks like that. So a lot of these picks kind of make sense in the second round here. So a run-on corners coming off the board. It's a really good value. Will McDonald in the 21st pick in the second round, because I think it's a player that could go in the first round there. So that was good value. Same, another pass rusher, pretty good value. Felix and DK Uzama to the Bears. I think that's a really good 4-3 end there, which the Bears are trying to run. So I think that's pretty. And it's a early second, makes sense, but it's possible that he could slide in to the late first round there. So I think that's pretty good value. Seen some Hendon Hooker all the way down at 29 in the second round. I think that's a really good pick for the Raiders there. Mozzie Smith starting to get some buzz. He could possibly go a little earlier than that. I think that's a good pick for the Panthers. And then we get into the third round. So this is where I was talking since, middle, late of that first round about Brandon Cooks. I got Brandon Cooks available. In the Raiders, the person controlling the Raiders was talking about, like, I got this guy available, that guy available, this guy available. So kind of talking a little bit with multiple teams. So I ended up taking with the second pick. With the second pick in the third round, I ended up taking Deion Henley, who I like a lot, getting a lot of buzz lately. Got a chance of watching his film. He's a very solid linebacker from Washington State who had a good showing at the Senior Bowl, who actually used to be a safety. So I like the athleticism and the coverage skills. But the way he fills gaps and flies at the ball just looks like a today's style NFL linebacker. So and it's especially the D'Amico Ryans type linebacker. Like, I love the fit there. I love the upside there. So I think D'Amico Ryans can turn him into a stud. He's already kind of a stud. So what I ended up doing was, kind of got to scroll through, see some of these other picks here. But, kind of looking at the other picks real quick. I think Tillman's really good value with the Falcons there in the third round. It's a guy kind of sneaking up there. But the Texans originally had the 10th pick. The Texans had the 10th pick. So I traded that as I'm working to deal Brandon Cooks for Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow was available, being made available by the Raiders. That pick got traded quite a few times. So I know I'm moving on from Brandon Cooks. The Texans need another receiver, even with Brandon Cooks. We get Hyatt, the speedster receiver. We trade for Brandon Cooks. We're gonna need another receiver. I like Renfrow in the slot. For the Texans, I think that'd be great with a guy like Bryce Young having the speed, with Hyatt, and having kind of the separator underneath the possession style receiver of Hunter Renfrow, and the monster season he had just 2 seasons ago. That didn't disappear, obviously, and was a little off this year, of course, but everyone was off, felt like, except for Josh Jacobs, in that McDaniels offense and the Raiders. So I saw a great value, especially compared to the other receivers here. I thought Renfrow could make this Texans team a lot better. It's just a different style of receiver that the Texans could use, with Bryce Young there. So I end up dealing that pick away. But then I end up getting the 16th pick, and this was with it doesn't show the player on this. I just ended up getting traded a few times. Or actually, no, it didn't. This was with the Bears. So I traded Brandon Cooks to the Bears, who were looking for a receiver, and then maybe that person controlling the Bears, playing GM for the Bears, didn't really see the value of receivers down here. That's why I traded for Renfrow. Except Tillman was still available. I possibly could have paired Tillman with Hyatt, the 2 Tennessee receivers. That's interesting. But so I get the 16th pick in the 3rd round, which I do think Cooks will eventually be traded for either a 3rd or maybe a 4th, maybe a 4th and a 6th or 4th and a 7th in real life, I think. So I saw some guys still available here. So then on the clock, Julius Brents, who I like a lot. I really don't think is going to get out of the 2nd round, the Kansas State corner. I think he has a better shot of maybe sneaking in the late 1st than going 3rd, my opinion. He's a very solid zone corner with some man experience as well. He can run with people in man coverage. He has the length. He loves to fly up and hit people as well. So maybe you're possibly day two, Devon Witherspoon type corner here. So I love that. And long term, pairing him with Derek Stingley just seems like a future potential elite cornerback duo. I think perfect. This corner here, Julius Brents, perfect for D'Amico Ryan's defense, which will feature a little bit more zone than man. But Brents came from Iowa too, which Iowa's really it's an NFL zone. The way it's called, it's an NFL zone type defense, and he goes to Kansas State and brings that over, and then a little bit more, some good experience at Kansas State with a little bit more man coverage, but they did run a lot of zone to kind of fit their players' strengths. So I do like Brents a lot. I thought that was a steal for me. So that, and kind of just to scroll through, I'll put a link down below so you kind of can see what I'm seeing right now, and also a link for who played GM for what team. But you see some of these other picks here. Just to show you, and that kind of tops off the round there. But and you can click this. It's not showing on your screen, so it's showing for me over on my other monitor. But you can that filter by team. You can choose the team there, and I can choose my team, and that's what I end up doing. So I came in to the day, with a 3-round mock, owning 5 total picks, and I lead with 5 picks. And I ended up getting Hunter Renfrow as well. So, but I did trade away Brandon Cooks. But I like that a lot. Bryce Young's going to help the quarterback position, and they could have won a lot more games last year if it wasn't for mistakes by quarterbacks late, and especially late in games. Popping up at the bad times. Lucas Van Ness, that defensive end for D'Amico Ryan, just feels like he's not Nick Bosa, but that style of defensive end, for D'Amico Ryan's, and I love the upside there. So much upside. Freaky dude. We'll see him at the combine. And then getting Hyatt, who I have a 1st-round grade on, who I was actually talking about moving up into the 1st round to get, because I wanted him for this offense for Bryce Young so badly, and I get him with the 2nd pick in the 2nd round. And then Henley and Brents, to me, are guys that I'm high on right now. I think they are rising up boards. I think they're going to go early 2nd, actually, and I get both them in the 3rd round. I love that. So I think every single one of these guys that I got is a starter for the Houston Texans, a day 1 starter, and makes them better. And I also add Hunter Renfrow, who's a day 1 starting slot receiver. So and we're getting Mechie back too. Having Hyatt, Renfrow, and Collins as well. Big body outside guy, and then Mechie, which Mechie I think is a guy that can play in the slot and play outside. I think Hyatt can do both as well, which he played the slot for Tennessee, but they split their guys out so wide. Like he was on the numbers playing in the slot. So I think maybe more likely to be an outside guy. But you got a mixture of everything. You got the speed, the deep speed in Hyatt. You got the contested catch in Collins, and you got kind of the possession underneath separator and Renfro, and then Mechie, I guess, is you kind of can categorize it as that as well. He's pretty good at reading zone. He's gonna get open underneath. Bama used him in the outside in the slot kind of evenly. I thought he was better in the slot, but I like that he can do a little bit of both there. So we got a little bit of everything here for the for Bryce Young and the Houston Texans. So I like the fits and how guys pair together. I love the fit of Van Ness. And Henley and Brents, the defensive guys, and specifically D'Amico Ryan's defense. So I had a lot of fun doing this. I had a lot of fun. I'm glad I picked the Texans because everything kind of worked out pretty well here. Again, finding fits and getting good value, which I'm all about. So usually I'm more about best player available. I am. But we happen to kind of get that at the same time of checking off the needs, at the same time of getting perfect fits in their style of play. So others went very, very well here. So, but we got the combine starting this week. We'll have you covered with that, and that'll change some things as well. We got you guys covered, everything NFL. And again, I'll put a link down below for this. This is who kind of played for each team there. But if you're curious, if you watch or follow one of these, some of these guys are Twitter guys as well as I am as well. So yeah, fun stuff there. Make sure you check out Walk the Mock. There's nothing else like it. It's a lot of fun. You won't be disappointed in that. There's a link pinned in the comments for that. We have a code. Make sure to use that because you get 50% off. So you have to use that there. But that wraps it up. Again, join us. Go to our channel. Check it out. Check out the recent videos. You won't be disappointed. Make sure you like, subscribe to notifications on Twitter. Make sure you follow that as well. Link pinned in the comments for that. But that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.